Many people in today's society are bringing up the issue that women and men are not paid equal salaries for doing the same jobs. While and many people view that as unfair, in the early 1900s, women didn't even have as many rights as they do today. Today, I will be discussing the ratification and the movement surrounding the women's suffrage, and I will use examples from the film Iron Jaw Angels, directed by Katja von Greiner. This is a great topic to discuss since women's suffrage presents and embodies all three issues of movements, crowds, and violence that make up this course. The movie starts out when the 19th Amendment, allowing women the right to vote, had not been passed yet. Nassau, or the National Women's Suffrage Association, is afraid that it will be vetoed if it even makes it to the floor to be voted on at all. There are many reasons why women want the right to vote, but I think the best summary comes from one of the main characters of the film, Alice Paul. We are legitimate citizens. We are taxed without representation. We are not allowed to serve on juries, so we are not tried by our peers. It is concisable, not to mention unconstitutional. We don't make the laws, but we have to obey by them like children. The movie begins when Alice Paul and Lucy Burns take over the Nassau Congressional Committee in Washington, D.C., and suggest a parade to get people on board with the amendment. This is the first example of the social movement in the movie because they are organized large group that is fighting for political change. There are many other examples as well. The type of social movement in this movie is a reform movement because women are trying to amend the Constitution, not outright overthrow it. This is stage one in the formation of social movements known as emergence. Since this cause is just beginning for the committee, Lucy says marching shows the politicians that we are women united in our demand. The world united here is key for a social movement definition. They hold their parade with horses and costumes and floats, and crowds gather to watch. This is the effect of the stage two in the formation of social movements, coalitions. The women are recruiting more people to support their cause. However, men are drinking, started yelling at them and throwing empty bottles at the curb, up paper at the women in the parade. Crowds get more active and people start to push around them. Men overwhelm the security guards. They rush the parade. People fall down. Men attack and push and shove the women that are marching. This is the first instance where collective behavior is seen. The crowd is considered an acting crowd since they are engaging in destructive behavior. They can also be considered a mob since they are readily committing violence, and a mob is a type of acting crowd. The crowd is acting by explanation in the Contagion theory because they are acting on emotional and irrational movements. The effects of this attack in the parade is actually not at all bad though. The women take this extra politically as a chance to talk to the president about the issues. The papers published the headline, "National Aroused by Open Insult to Women Cause Wins Popular Sympathy." The Nassau suspended Alice's committee on the account of inclusion expenditures so that Alice splits from Nassau and forms the National Women's Party, or NWP. She states, "We are a single platform party dedicated to the passage of the following constitutional amendment, the right for citizens of the United States to vote." They hope to gain enough following so that in the next upcoming election, if a candidate that does not support the women's right to vote, they will suffer in large portion of the votes lost. This is an example of the third stage of the formation of the social movement's institutionalization. When Alice take the position of authority, the group becomes more bureaucratic. A quote I love from Alice is, "We do not declare our faith on the principles of the government." The women of NWP NWP protest in front of the White House. This is another example of collective behavior in the movie. They are known as a protesting crowd since they are protesting for political change. They are working outside the system. In this instance, since they are picketing and demonstrating, at first they had a good reaction and got a lot of press attention. But then the United States gets involved in World War I, and the women started getting crowds of people, mostly men, at the gathering around their picket line, started yelling at them, throwing and spitting at them. This is another example of a mob. Their behavior can similarly be explained as contagion theory as well. The picketers get aggressive and violent and manhandle and arrested by the White House and the police. They will not tell them what they are being charged with. The police chief says if we want to hold them, we have to charge them with something. Not only is this unfair, but it is unlawful, Lucy states in court. These arrests are purely political. Women that are arrested and are sentenced to 60 days in a correctional facility, this is a sacrifice the women are willing to make for their social movement cause, which I find very inspiring. Women are forced to be in horrific humiliating conditions at the workhouse and are treated violently. They are slapped, pushed, hung from the bars on the ceiling with handcuffs. This is not only egregious to me, but makes me ashamed in the American government for allowing this violence to be perpetrated against these women. Women of the NWP continue to picket in front of the White House, this time calling out President Wilson and calling him Kinser Wilson. They are attacked by the crowd of people, pushed down and dragged across the sidewalk. Alice speaks out and says, I have nothing to do with the laws that have put me in this position. While Alice is arrested, she is put in solitary confinement and refuses to eat. The prison doctor sums up her motives as she is preparing to starve to death in order to further the cause. Her hunger strike could even be considered a small-scale social movement itself, since she is still trying to enact change. This sounds very familiar to Patrick Henry's statement, "Give me liberty or give me death." The other women follow in her footsteps and go on hunger strikes as well. The guards tie down Alice into a chair and force food down her throat in a tube in a very violent manner. This is one of the many instances of violence in this film. This part of the movie was especially violent and hard for me to watch due to her brutal and cruel treatment. The women are finally released from prison due to an innovation by Senator Langton when an account by Alice Paul of her horrible treatment gets published in the newspapers. The passage of this amendment was very vital and necessary. War is a statement by President Wilson. The amendment finally passed on August 26, 1920, because of the confidence and determination of women to lead the movement. This leads to the statement in the formation of the social movement stage 4 or decline, since women of the NWP have accomplished their goal and women now have the right to vote. Thank you very much.